So sorry about that little bit of a sound problem we've had. So Martin, I agree. There are some truthers that I know who get frustrated, and they actually what would describe other people who don't get it as being unintelligent or dumb or stupid. So I think it's important that your explanation was really good in that they're really just in this real focused, limited environment of thought, and they're just not expanding themselves. And I think that makes sense. And I think people like us who have been awake, and Martin, I think you've been awake, what, 20 plus years?
Yes.
And
Yeah, but I have to admit though that when Brenda came into my life, uh, roughly 10 years ago, I really my thinking really got expanded. And what I would say to people is, if you're getting frustrated trying to communicate with someone about what's going on, just remember, just take a look at what box they're in. What box have they been in? And just take your pick between, education, maybe it's money, maybe it's hunting, fishing, whatever it is. They've been in that box and they have never bothered to expand their thinking. And you have. And that's why we get so frustrated and flustered. It's like, yeah, what don't you get? But they just can't. They're not ready to expand their thinking. And like we were talking about this morning, and it's like, yeah, it's like what I get really tired of. It's kind of like like in a basketball game, and the coach, instead of playing the 6 or 7 best players, he plays the worst players. That's what he coddles. And I'm like, to the Lions, I'm like, what are you doing? Why do you cater to the lowest mental level of people, to a bunch of mental midgets? Why do you do that? And it's like, yeah, it's like, if you really want to help humanity, then cater to those at the highest level, not the lowest level. Anyway.
yeah, no, I'm with you. And I also think that might be the reason why there are so many truthers, because some of those truthers, I believe, connect with the audience that might be in those boxes still to some extent. There are religious truthers that kind of focus on their religious parts.
Yep.
There are, more that are focused on the politics. There are other truthers who focus on, money, like you say, or precious metals or things like that. So I think that's part of the reason why that's designed that way. But yeah, no, that's great insight, Martin. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, I wanted to get your view on the recent stuff that's going on with this particular video, or not video, but a meme, I guess is the word that would be better to use. And this was the video that people were talking about, or not video, but meme that they're talking about. Let's go to this slide. Actually, this is a better slide. And what I thought was interesting was that there's some controversy not only about the actual meme, but also about how it's been adjusted that Trump claims. So I thought that was interesting. Any views on this at all from your perspective?
I would just say this. Everything that the alliance and Trump do, that they do, there's a meaning behind it. There's something that they're pushing people to go look at. There's an emotion that they want to bring out. And right now, Trump is looking like a total idiot day after day after day. So what I would say is this. Ask yourself this. Do you really think Trump is so stupid as to think that he's Jesus? Do you really think that? I mean, take a look at his behavior like a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever. Do you really think this is a stupid individual? And it's like, he's not stupid. This is a bright guy. And yeah, he may be a little arrogant, and usually arrogance equals stupidity. But this is a man who uses stuff like this here to evoke a certain response from people. Now, exactly what that response is that he wants, or that the military wants, because remember, he's just a spokesperson for them. And, just like what the Putin 2.0 is for Russia, he's a spokesperson. And so Trump is doing the same thing here. So ask yourself, what is it? What emotion is it that he's wanting you to get? And there's all kinds of emotions coming out from people. I mean, it's like, but there's a method to their madness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it does. In fact, I find the actual meme itself interesting, but it led to other controversies as well. But let's just talk about the other controversies. And I included a photo of Pope Leo, because Trump is now in a little bit of a battle with the Pope, which I think is funny.
Yeah.
And I think that's to call, some focus on the Vatican again and the Pope and all that process. Do you have an opinion about that at all?
Whoever's playing this Pope, what they've been doing for a while is looking to destroy the Catholicism. That's what they're looking to do, and they're doing it. They're people, like a lot of Catholics are like, whoa, what's going on here? And they want what the alliance and Trump want is take a good look at Catholicism. What is it that they're about? And that's, like this Pope Leo here, he's playing out his role. And that's what we're watching with all these people. These actors are playing a role. And for some, it's the role of a life. And so, Pope Leo is, I look at all the spats that he has with Trump, and I just chuckle. I don't take any of them all that serious.
So basically, part of the movie is, I guess, what you're suggesting, and I think it's funny how it's the first American Pope, and yet it's kind of the way it's being managed is kind of interesting. And I'm with you. I think it's the takedown of organized religion as a whole, I think, and the Pope is kind of like the focal point for that, or the best image of organized religion. But another compelling part about this controversy around this particular meme was around the American Red Cross also.
Oh,
and, yeah, about how corrupt the Red Cross is, and that came out of this as well. Any thoughts about that, Martin?
Oh man, they're gonna talk about the Red Cross, and they're not the only ones. Most of these organizations like the Red Cross, they are so bad. They're so corrupt. And yeah, you're right, boy. Yeah, the Red Cross is one of those many things that are on deck for people to look at hard. And they have stacks and stacks of money, and all the blood that they get from people. And what do they do with that blood? Where does that blood all go? It's like, yeah, people, the Red Cross is definitely something to look hard into. Absolutely.
Well, there was also some videos that just came out that was showing Red Cross containers that would you'd think might have blood in them or food or whatever. When they opened them up, there was money in these bins and millions. I mean, these bins were huge. You know, like 3 feet, 2 feet by 3 feet bins full of money, and the whole wall had, so I think it's bringing out the laundering, the money laundering that the cabal's been doing through organizations like the Red Cross, besides the trafficking, the body parts selling, and all this craziness that they've been doing. So I thought that was interesting. So
Yeah. I know a few of my viewers, they've known people, or even they themselves have worked for the Red Cross before. And, like one of the viewers, they talked about how the head of this one area of the Red Cross, the cars that they had, I mean, it was an incredible, the beautiful cars that they had in their private garage and stuff. I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out from people who have worked for the Red Cross before, and as well as the Salvation Army in other places.
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's pretty interesting, really.
No, understood. So here's another controversy that came out of this meme. I don't know if you knew this, but Trump had claimed that the original meme that he posted was doctored, so to speak, when the mainstream media started posting this and sending it all around. If you look at the top, I created a little bit of a V around the image, but there was supposed to be 3 soldiers at the top. And what they did was they replaced one of the soldiers with a demon-like figure.
Oh,
Have you heard of anything about this at all?
I haven't yet. No, not this is the first I've heard of it.
Okay. Because here, let's look at this now. The original is on the left, and it shows 3 soldiers, and then the one on the right with the circle around it shows a demon. So I thought that
I
was
see.
interesting too. And I think a lot of this, when Trump does this silly stuff, I think the idea is to get controversy around it, because controversy breeds conversation. So I think that's part of the reason. And I'm sure there's a lot of other symbolism in this as well. And I thought it was compelling when you look at the individual that President Trump has his hands on the forehead. Who does that look like to you? Does that look like anybody that I mean, does that mean anything to you? Does it strike any kind of emotion at all?
No.
No?
It's I can't see up close roll as yet.
Fair enough. A lot of people have suggested it could be JFK Jr. Like it's kind of like an image of JFK Jr.
Oh,
That might be what he might look like now. He's about my age. He's like 66, 67. And looking at that image, what it could the way I looked at it when I first saw it was maybe this is a foreshadowing of the return of Junior. So I don't know, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
that could be.
And then just real quick, we could get into this. There were some other conversations about some of the drops. There were 2 drops that this kind of related to, this meme and this Red Cross controversy about Red Cross being in Iran, Red Cross in Pakistan, Red Cross, just all sorts of smuggling and all the controversy. That was one of the drops 1249. And it was also another drop 252. It says a Red Cross is corrupt and used as a piggy bank. Future topic: diseases created by families in power. Think AIDS. So I thought that was kind of interesting also. So just interesting. Any other thoughts about this stuff? And we can move on. I have another topic I wanted to share with you.
Yeah, something that just occurred to me. So all that money that the Red Cross has, and the millions and millions of dollars, maybe billions, who knows? But with the advent of the QFS system and the new money, see, like if the average person out there, a lot of people maybe have like $2, $3, $4, $5,000, maybe they have 10 or even 20,000 that they hold back just in case, they have that on hand. And so when the day comes that they're going to trade that in, that's not a big deal. However, these drug dealers and people like the Red Cross, who have millions and tens of millions of cash, all of a sudden they're going to, how are they going to turn that money in for new money? And they're not. It's not going to happen. And so that's going to be how they're going to wipe these people out. Whether they're the drug dealers or the Red Cross, all of a sudden that money's going to become worthless. And so, yeah, it's pretty ingenious on their part.
The whole process is amazing when you think about it. And, they're running two parallel financial systems all at one time. And we know the QFS system will be able to track all the transactions. And some people might feel uncomfortable about that, but we have to be realistic about it. I think until frequencies increase collectively and we know corruption is gone, I think that process has to take place. But I've always been that kind of person that says, look, if you want to know what I'm doing, fine. I mean, I'm not doing anything underhanded or weird or strange. So I'm an open book. You want to surveil me, you want to see what's going on, have at it. I don't really care, because I'm a sovereign soul and I don't really care what you think about what I do. So people, I think if you have that kind of feeling, you really probably don't care. But some people are pretty sensitive about it, so I understand that. But anyway, hey, I wanted to get your opinion about another topic. And this is interesting now. We're seeing that Swalwell is kind of in the news just recently. The bumbling buffoon that was just totally going after President Trump. And so any thoughts about this guy and what's going on with that controversy right now?
Obviously, he's on deck. And they're going to expose him for the low life that he was. And I use the word was as in he's not out there anymore. Take your pick. He's either in prison or he's been executed. Take your pick. Doesn't really matter. And I don't really care which one it is. The important thing is that he's gone. And so what we see is 2.0. But the important thing, though, is that they're going to expose him for what he did and for what he was. And that's important. All these people, no matter how much that they've been dealt with, whether it's they're dead or just in prison, it doesn't matter. What matters is that people know what they did. That's what they need to know. And what they're finding out with Swalwell is what he did. And one of the things that, if you remember, what he said is, when he said, well, you want to mess with us, the government, well, we got nukes. We'll just nuke your butt. It's like, oh, really? And so, yeah, that's one of the things he's kind of famous for saying. And these are people that were not nice. They were not good people. So, and yeah, it's like, of course he's known for having the relationship with Fang Fang and, and who knows who else, these guys, you look at Lindsey Graham and what a weird duck. These people, when you take a look at the people, the group that they called friends, that's a weird group, really strange. And, they did all kinds of sick, demonic, and evil things. No doubt.
Well, it's even ironic when you think about it, because I think Swalwell was a big opponent of Kavanaugh and was bringing out all these things about what he was being accused of. And I think that's the big boomerang, that's coming around, that this guy was talking about ethics and morals and all that kind of stuff. And he was guilty of all that kind of stuff while he was in the process of making it a fake accusations on Kavanaugh, but it was kind of interesting. But yeah, no, it's good to see people like this publicly going down. As far as I'm concerned, I love it. Hey, I wanted to get your thoughts about this supposed lunar moon nonsense, like all this fugazi stuff that's going on around this. Tell me what you think about this.
Anytime I hear something about the moon, like it was a while back, and they go, "Oh, we got 2 people stranded up on the moon." I'm like, "Well, you stupid idiot, send up a TR-3B and go get them." It's like, anyway, I remember quite a while ago, I asked our source, I said, "So can the TR-3B go to the moon and beyond?" And he said, "Yes, it can." And for those who don't know what a TR-3B is, it is anti-gravitational. We've had it for many, many years. And but he said, when it comes to going further out into space, he said, we have better starcraft for that. So in other words, Artemis 2 was something for the normies out there. That's because in the way that the Alliance looks at this, the average normie out there is not ready to hear about TR-3B and other starcraft. They're not ready for that yet. So this is kind of like a soft kind of disclosure for them, maybe in a way. And so it keeps them comfortable with old knowledge. And the kicker is that on X, you have all kinds of knowledge and stories about the truth being put out there. And X is like for mid-20s to mid-50s. People are really on X heavy. I know Brenda is too. And so people are getting hammered with the truth, whether or not they're able to comprehend it or not, I don't know. But a lot of people are, and they're waking up to it. So yeah, Artemis 2 was just for the normies.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you think, and I know you've been around, you're a bit older than I am, so we experienced, the supposed moon landing in, was it 1969?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and it's like, that was so fake. And I remember at the time, I was young at the time when it happened. But I can say that through the years following, felt that it was fake, felt that those Challenger missions were fake, and all this nonsense around it, because NASA was no different than the Red Cross. It's this boondoggle for money laundering, so that the bad guys can do all sorts of stuff and use that money for bad things. And I think that's what this has all been about. I think the Artemis 2 mission is to begin to get that dialogue again around space travel and about how maybe it's not true, and certainly to bring out the NASA hoax and what's going on there. Almost every aspect of this is just such a joke. I mean, think about it. The thing that didn't work first was their toilet. I mean, it's like all the things that they made fun of. I mean, to me, it was the White Hats trolling NASA with this actual mission. And think about it. Like, they were taking photos from the dark side of the moon. Well, if it's photos from the dark side of the moon, how is there enough light to see anything? Well, there wouldn't be. Right? So, and the other thing is that they're taking these images with a Nikon camera. And it's like, really? I mean, since 1969, Nikon cameras. And don't forget the most infamous image of President Nixon talking to the astronauts on a landline. Like, really? It's like the whole it's just, he's holding the phone. Now, I get it. Maybe there's communication that's supposedly at Kennedy Center or wherever the hell it was. But, the whole imagery is just so fake. And again, don't forget, remember the Challenger explosion that happened? Remember that? And was it
Yes.
1986, I think? I remember the whole world was focused on it. And then, of course, we see all those astronauts, supposed astronauts, all in the, since then living their lives. It's like, what? It's like the Sandy Hook stuff. The kids just keep
Right.
reappearing and all these other tragedies and whatever. So it's just craziness. So I just thought that was kind of funny and that we should kind of talk about that. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on here with gas prices. And this might get us talking a little bit more about Iran. And, I don't know, maybe, have you heard anything from your source about Iran? Anything about this Iranian supposed war or whatever?
The only thing that he said that he's able to say is all the big stuff is already done. And that would include Iran and Israel. And I was thinking about the troops going over there. And and I believe that's real. And what they're doing, I believe, is they are cleaning out the tunnels, and they're also like with Israel. I know a lot of those soldiers are going into Israel, and they're arresting and digging out the pedophiles. Keep in mind, there's roughly 2 million pedophiles in Israel, or there were, and they all have to be rounded up. So, and as I understand it, Israel is just in flux right now. Zionism is being destroyed there, and it needs to be. And so, they're fleeing the ship. They're a bunch of rats getting the hell out of Dodge. And someone said the entire government has left. So I don't know if that's true or not. But at any rate, yeah, the only thing I was going to say about Artemis and stuff, and if I can get my mind tracking again, is that like when we went on the Mars landing, and when we landed, all of a sudden up came like three spacecraft. that was the first thing that the Mars landing saw was, and then when it came to the moon, apparently the word is that what happened is that when we finally did go to the moon, they were told by the people who lived up there, because there's actually a lot of people who live and work inside the moon, and there's on the dark side of the moon, apparently there's a couple cities over there, but they told those astronauts to go get the hell out of here and don't come back. And so yeah, they let them know that they were not welcome up there. So anyway, the moon has been, I think the Anunnaki drug the moon into our orbit about 50,000 years ago. So, and it was used to capture souls so that we had to reincarnate back on Earth. And that's not the case anymore. So anyway, but moving on to Israel and Iran, I think those troops are there to clean up on the ground the rest of the pedophiles and what's left of the deep state. So That's just my guess.
Do you believe that's part of that 600,000 sealed indictments that have been out there? You think that includes part of that?
That's a good question.
Are you
I
familiar
don't know.
with? Yeah, I was wondering about that too. And I'm also wondering if the military action that's being taken, military ships, our ships, and other militaries in the Strait of Hormuz, in other places, where they're there to capture the rats that are trying to escape the sinking ship, you know? And that might be what they're doing.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, good catch. Yeah. I think you're correct there on that. And the whole thing going on with the Strait of Hormuz has nothing to do with oil. And what people need to remember about oil is that it is not a product that's going to go away. The earth is continuously making more and more oil every day. And so, and what was it? This morning, one of the people that we were listening to, she was saying that we're going to have Tesla energy by the end of this year, at least. So, and I know one of the other bloggers said that we will have med beds within this year. So this year could see a lot of major things coming and happening. So,
real quick, let's just talk, because you mentioned free energy. I mean, that's a big topic, and I'm with you. I believe that's true as well. But let's kind of talk about what that free energy really is. I mean, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, that free energy exists in the ether. And when you looked at Tartarian buildings and the way they were designed, and those designs were consistent throughout the entire world, whether they were in Russia with a more rounded dome or in Europe with more angular domes, there were cathodes and anodes and ways that they could capture the electricity, electromagnetic energy out of the ether and bring it down to the ground and then store it in the ground. They'd store it in those red brick buildings. That's what the red brick did. And I think there were other ways to store it as well. Even to the point where there are many people who report that in these Tartarian buildings, there were fireplaces that weren't really any evidence of burning going on, but it was a way to bring that energy into the home. And that's how they brought the energy in, as well as what the cathedrals were. And the cathedral is cathode kind of thing. So I'm with you when we think about oil, this focus on oil and how the cabal made it. It was obviously a big money maker for them. It drove most of their income was based on oil. And I think there's this focus on oil right now, like gas prices are high, to get everybody's attention on it. There are other ulterior motives, as always, with the White Hats and what their messaging is. And I'm with you. I think it's about getting the word out on other sources of energy that you can't rely on oil. Even though I'm with you, I agree. Oil. I mean, I remember the 1979. I was pumping gas when I was going to college and dental school, and I remember putting signs on the back of the car saying "last car" because we were running out of gas in that gas station. And there were lines. I don't know if you remember odd and even rationing based on your license tag and all this kind of craziness. And they were saying and estimating that we'd run out of oil by 1985. I mean, come on. I mean, that's what 40 plus years ago that stuff was going on. And people need to understand that oil is an endless resource because it's all Earth. It's the decay of Earth, not decay, but it's the process of Earth. I mean, it's there, but there's even easier energy to get, which is this energy in the ether, this electromagnetic energy that Tesla talked about. So I'm with you. It's really an exciting thing. And I hope your source or whoever you heard that from, these people, this podcast or whatever, is correct in that we do have access to this energy by the end of the year. I hope that's true.
Well, there is already a country that's using Tesla energy. It's either Finland or Norway, I believe.
Yes, I heard that too. I think
And
it's Finland. It might be Finland.
yeah, I believe so. It's really cool when you see the pictures. It's like, oh wow.
Well,
I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. It's great.
and the best part about it is, well, first of all, it's clean as heck, obviously, because it's been provided. It's part of the abundance that God provided for all of us, or source has provided for us. Clean air, clean water, and clean energy. It makes sense. Why wouldn't that also be provided to us in the form of abundance? Because this was created for us, and we have to be able to survive, and you can't survive without energy. So it makes sense. And I think that Finland, and I think it's Finland, it could be Norway, but I believe it's Finland. I think that story is the beginning of the release of that information to the masses. I hope that's true.
They use different countries for different things. Like Japan is used to expose certain things. Australia is used to expose certain things. We're used. Finland is being used for Tesla energy. And I'm pretty sure it's Finland. And it's, when you see the pictures and stuff, you're like, oh wow, that's awesome. And yes, it's like soft disclosure. And if you think about it, they chose a country that's way the heck up there. And so it's not like, like using Canada, for example. That would be like a major kaboom for knowledge, that might blow people away. But to expose it first through someone like Finland, it's not a knock on Finland at all. It's a beautiful country, but it's like I say, it's soft disclosure. And so, yeah, so people, little by little, word will get out, and people go, hey, they're doing it. Why can't we?
No, agreed. Hey, listen, you also mentioned something else. Let's talk a little bit about med beds. So med beds are obviously very important to all of us, whether you're an older person who has these ailments and would love to see a more simple, more advanced way to be treated. And then, or if you're younger and you might even have a child that has autism or whatever, this affects everybody. And our medical system, the Western medicine, is so corrupt. I'm a part of it. I get it. Believe me, I understand. I was educated in it. I was brought up in it. And my father was in pharma. So even as a child and as a teenager, I heard all about the pharma nonsense. And so I've been really thrown into it. And I'm just so excited about med beds. What's your view on med beds, Martin? What's your overall view of it?
Well, it's something that was kind of funny that happened a couple of weeks ago when we were down here at the medical center here in Hotchkiss. Brenda said to the, I think it was a PA, and she said, well, now we just need the med beds. And he goes, yeah, we do. And, like one of the viewers, they said, med beds are all over Facebook. So the bottom line, in fact, one of the viewers said too, the hospital where they work at, all the doctors, they all know about them. And what the doctors are trying to say is, well, they're not going to, they'll only be used for a diagnosis. They say, no, that's bullshit. They're going to be used for real. They're going to be used to heal. And so, yes, they're, the medical community, they are fully aware of what they can do and what they will do, and they know good and well that they can only hold them off for so long. But the medical community, the medical establishment, they are just scared to death because They know the moment that those things come into being that a lot of their jobs are gone. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to need doctors, because accidents are going to happen, and we're going to need doctors and nurses to patch people up to get them into a med bed. So it's not like there's not going to be no need for doctors and nurses. We will still have some need, just not the amount of need that we have today.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Let me tie it back to what you talked about kind of earlier at the beginning of our little meeting today, our show. You mentioned about that box. And interestingly enough, I view that med beds, when they're introduced, that there's only going to be a small part of the population that would be willing to go inside a med bed, because they're not going to trust it. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to be willing to accept it. So I think the place that nurses and physicians might have is to explain how med beds work, and kind of begin to introduce the concept to the masses, to people who really need them. And I could see that as an important role, to be able to explain and be that bridge between the old tech and the new tech. To me, that makes sense, especially since most of the population still trusts Western medicine. My son's a physician. I'm a medical provider, I'm a dentist, but in the end, what it's all about is having our patients trust us and be able to impart information at a level that they can understand. And I think the physician, the nurse, the PA, the physician assistant, I think those folks will be in a great position to assist in that process of integrating med beds into society and getting people off of Western medicine, which has been horrible. And one other quick comment about that I'd like to share is that, knowing physicians that were in the system, even physicians back in the day with COVID and vaccines and all that, remember, they're a part of a big, huge system. And that's what Western medicine did. They incorporated physicians into these big machines. And physicians are told what to do. They're not autonomous in any way, shape, or form. And I would also argue that the process of recruiting physicians, going through, pre-med education, and then taking certain tests, and then medical school, and all the other dental schools and optometry, they're all the same. What they do, they indoctrinate the students. So these folks going into it, they weren't malicious. At least most of them weren't. It's almost like the same concept of FBI and CIA, where it's corrupt organizations, but most of the corruption's up at the very top. And if you think about what the cabal did, they were genius at it. They created these organizations that were very, very structured and controlled at the top, whereas middle management and lower people wouldn't even know what was going on, kept everybody in the dark and segmented. And I also had a lot of years in corporate America, and that's the way corporations were set up as well. And it was designed that way on purpose. So there are a lot of people that claim, the damage that comes out when it's known, all the damage of the vaccines and things like that. Physicians and nurses need to be punished for pushing it and stuff like that. I'm not suggesting some shouldn't be. Some will be and should be, because they knowingly were pushing people into adverse environments. But a lot of them, and the masses, most of them didn't know. They were doing what they were told to do. Now, I argue if they knew they were detrimental, they shouldn't have been pushing them. And an example of that is for me with fluoride. I stopped pushing fluoride once I understood. Actually, I never really pushed it heavily. But in my own practice, I didn't push fluoride that heavily. But nonetheless, when I learned that it was detrimental to the human body, I stopped talking about it, advocating, and getting people away from it. I would argue physicians that knew these vaccines were bad should have and probably did push people away from them. But most of them didn't know any better, because in the systems they work within, they weren't given that information. So just a side comment, whatever it's worth. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of physicians punished, but there will be some. And again, those at the top that were in those hospital systems, these big, large medical groups, clearly corrupt, clearly. I mean, getting money from, insurance companies, because if they labeled it a COVID death, they got additional money, as much as $40,000 from CMS if they labeled a death as COVID death when it was a motorcycle accident. You've heard those stories, Martin, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, so I don't want to pontificate, but I just had to get that out because I've heard a lot of people calling for, attacks on these people, and they just didn't know any better. If they knew better and they were guilty, then they should be punished, but most of them didn't know any better. Now they do. Now pushing vaccines and things like that, I think is crazy. And I think it's hard for physicians and nurses assistants and physician assistants to push against the system, but they do in quiet ways. And hopefully their patients are following those quiet signs, because they have to be careful about how they do it. So, but anyway, hey,
I think we're going to see a lot of administrators going to jail.
Yes. That's where the corruption starts. You've got administrators over these physicians, nurses, and dentists, and all these other healthcare providers. And the administrators are the ones that know of the corruption, know of the illegal payments that were being made, and live really nice lives. And insurance companies are a big part of that too. Pharma, insurance companies, the whole nexus of Western healthcare is just a debacle, and it's got to be torn down. But I do believe that there's a place for those physicians. Getting back to my initial comment, that these people should be able to find a place where they can kind of walk people slowly into med beds, which will be in their best interests. Hey, Martin, quick thoughts. I've noticed recently a lot of focus in chats and things, and some of these Telegram chats about the EBS or EAS coming. You have any views about that? Anything in your mind?
I think it's going to happen. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I do believe it's going to occur. I don't think, let me be careful how I couch this. I do not believe that they are going to provide the information that a lot of people are going to want to hear, meaning us, because they can't. They have, and I've said this for a while, they have boxed themselves into a corner, and because they have told certain lies for so long that if they were to come out and all of a sudden put all the truth out there, people would be like, what the hey? What are you saying now? Because you've been saying this over here for years, and now you're saying this. So how can I put it? I know our source said to me a number of times, he said, look, he said, there's going to be a gap of knowledge that occurs. And he said, we're depending on you guys, meaning people like you and Brenda, myself, and Sarge and others, to fill that gap. And the first time when I heard that, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well, okay, no big deal. All right, I can do that. But that was back when we didn't have so much to tell. Jeff, I'm not sure I want to fill in that gap anymore. I don't know that I want to stand up in front of about 200 or 300 people in a church and tell them the truth about all this stuff. And it's like, I mean, I can just hear some of the questions, and whether it's about off-road or inner-world people, or about religion. I mean, it's like, I mean, there's all kinds of questions that they're going to want to have, and I'm just not sure that I would want. I mean, would you want to stand up and start answering questions?
Yeah, I don't think so. There's so many things it's so overwhelming. And that's why I give the White Hats a lot of credit. And we all have to have some patience about how long this is taking. But keep going. I'm with you. Go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, because there's going to be some hotheads out there. And they're going, well, I don't believe that shit. I ain't going to buy that. It's like, it's like, okay, whatever. I'm not here to fight or to argue or anything like that. I'm just here to give information. And hey, it's going to be, I mean, I don't mind putting out information like from here. I can do this all day long. That's okay. But I don't know that I want to be in front of 200 or 300 angry people telling them the truth. It's like, oh, by the way, so for those of you who voted for Joe Biden in 2020, well, he's been dead since 2018. What? What are you talking about? And it's like, oh, and also most of the people, if you're a Democrat and you voted Democrat, probably most of the people you voted for are in prison, not to mention the Republicans as well. And they're like, oh, well, and oh, yeah, and Michelle Obama is a guy. I'm trying to visualize, in the beginning, years ago, it didn't bother me, Jeff. It didn't bother me to think about answering questions. But there wasn't that much to tell. Well, now there's a boatload of stuff to tell. And I'm not so sure that I want to stand up there in front of all those people and put my life on the line like that in front of all of them.
Yeah, it's going to be quite. I mean, that's why, again, I have the utmost respect for the movie, so to speak, or the three movies that are being concurrently played out. I get frustrated like everyone else does. I've been awake for quite some time now, and it's like, why don't people get it? But I think your point in the beginning about people in boxes makes all the sense in the world, and they'll remain in those boxes because that's a safe place for them. People like us, I give everyone in the audience a lot of credit because you all have, broken down some of the barriers, the fear, and gotten past it. You have to take chances. So I'm with you. So to me, I do see EBS coming out soon, the emergency broadcast, somehow, how it plays in. I don't know what will trigger it. I have some theories, but who cares? They don't mean anything because theories are just theories. But I think it's coming. And it's interesting to see a lot of talk about it right now. So kind of compelling. So
I think they may tell us enough so that people know that people like you and I and Brenda have been telling them the truth all along. And it will invoke, or it will put into them perhaps the desire to sit down with us and ask us some questions,
Well, think about what Honey says, and I agree with her when she says this. She says that, we've been strategically placed throughout the world to be ready and to be ready to go when it happens. And we've been identified as people who can assist others with questions they have. So I think that's our duty, so to speak. That's why we're here. That's why we agreed to do what we do. So some of us who are lucky enough to have a microphone in front of us right now, we've been blessed with the ability to do it maybe a little bit ahead of the curve, or at least start it. Everyone in the audience, they are ready and poised, ready to answer to their questions for the people that come to them. And I think that's what this process has been about. It's really amazing when you think about it. It's just incredible. And I give, like I said, the white hats, off-worlders, and everyone who's assisting us with this is just amazing what they've come up with in this plan. It's a thrill to be watching it. And I know everyone says it's a great time to be alive. I don't know about that, but I think it's such a thrill. You know. Hey, Martin, anything else you'd like to add before we close out for this morning?
I'll just say this here, and that is what I would like for people to understand, please, is that when they look at people like you and I, and they go, well, they've got like 20, 30, 40,000 people watching them, and that's it. Well, that's not it. We have people who hijack our videos. And like, I know a couple years ago, one of the viewers, they told Brenda, they said, hey, look at this guy on YouTube. And they had taken my videos, and this guy had over 350,000 subscribers. And here, like down in the box, down in the little corner, it was somebody that was talking, and in the comment section, they said, hey, Martin, I see you. Hey, and I'm like, that's not me. But another guy, Tom, over in Shanghai, he said, I get you over here. Well, if you think about it, in China, every channel over there probably has like close to 1 million people. And so what I would say is, when the people who take our videos, whether it's if you do it collectively, like you and I and Sarge and Janine and Brenda and Honey C and the others and Strack and all the rest, it's like we are probably viewed close to over 100 million times a day around the world. So we do a in My King and them, we're viewed well over 100 million times a day around the world. And so we do a yeoman's job of educating people everywhere. And I know I've had, like in Germany, I've got two guys who take my videos and translate them into German for the people over there. And, it's just, that's just the way it is. And, it's not, how can I put it? It's very humbling to have an audience of that nature. And I want to say too, that I am well aware that our audience, yours as well as mine over here and Brenda's, they are very well informed, very well educated. And I appreciate them. I appreciate their experience. I appreciate their knowledge, and a lot of the intel that we're getting anymore is coming from them. And so, anyway, I just want to say I appreciate you guys out there, and many of you've done an incredible job of hanging in there, because some of you live with spouses that are sound asleep. And for some of you, your entire family and your friends are sound asleep. And that would be tough. That would be hard to be around. And I just got to say, I have tremendous respect for you. And I thank you for the job you're doing. Anyway, Jeff, I thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, no, Martin, thank you so much for coming on. Love the message you just sent, and I agree wholeheartedly. And we can't thank the audience enough for letting us talk and share our thoughts. And we just all need to be ready, because one day we're going to be called upon to do the work that God's source has asked us to do. So I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. So, everybody, thank you for your time, and I'm sure we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Jeff.